Chad Knaus, who oversees the number 48 Lowe Chevrolet. This is the 6th win for you and Jimmy here at Texas Motor Speedway. First off, talk about the success you guys have here, and then sort of what unfolded for you atop the pit box there as the race started out with tire wear and just seeing Jimmy continue to make his push towards the front.
Yeah, it was really interesting. Obviously, we didn't know exactly what we were going to have due to the lack of practice, so we went into it with a lot of unknowns, actually. And then as people started to have some tire failures, which we saw some of that in the Xfinity race yesterday, and it's kind of typical here until the track rubbers up. We didn't really know what to expect, and initially we took off and the car was really, really tight for us. So we made some big swings to free it up, and we were able to move back towards the front a little bit. And then we had a huge transition, and the track started to loosen up for us again, so we had to tighten it back up. So we kind of played back and forth depending upon where we were running on the racetrack and what position we were, clean air versus dirty air, green flag versus caution flag. But, you know, Jimmy and the team did a great job. We made huge changes on the race car today. Throughout the pit stops, our guys did a really good job. The guys that prepare the car were actually jumping over the wall and making changes, and other guys were changing the tires. So there was a lot of activity, and the guys really worked hard for it. So for not having any race practice, I'm really proud of what these guys were able to do today.
Let's go ahead and open up for questions. Raise your hand. We'll start there in the back with Stan.
Chad, Stan Creekmore with RPMTonight.com. When you have a day like today, how comfortable does that make you feel when the day's over and it's a checkered flag and you know, after the season you've had?
It's been look, let's not, you got to be honest, it's been a tough last 3 months. You know, the beginning of the year was pretty damn good to be honest with you, but you know, we've worked hard. We tried to figure out what was going on, to battle different aero packages and different things, and the summer slump that the 48 typically goes through. So it's been a bit of a challenge, and you know, we'd be in the middle of this championship chase if it wasn't for a small mechanical failure. That being said, I feel like that we've run really well the last 6 weeks. Martinsville being the track we probably ran the worst at over the course of the last 2 months, which is really odd. We just haven't been able to post the finishes. But to be able to come out of here today with the win and to be able to race for it the way that we did, I think it speaks volumes about where the 48 is and the no-give-up attitude that we've got. As far as me, yeah, it feels great. I like it. I don't want it to take that long before you get back here. How's that?
Going up front.
Stu Myrick, Austin Radio Network, 104.9 The Horn. What did you hear anything from other crew chiefs, maybe other Hendrick crew chiefs, about the tire situation? Was there any information going back and forth about it?
We actually had one left rear tire. We were slipping back a little bit, and Jimmy was talking about getting loose, and the caution came out shortly thereafter. As we came down pit road and took the tires off, we saw that we actually had a left rear tire flat, or going flat. It wasn't flat yet. But we didn't really communicate with the other teammates about it too much. I don't think any of our other teammates had issues. The 88 had a problem, I think, with the right front potentially. They were running in some pretty clean areas of the racetrack, so I wasn't too shocked that the 88 had some trouble. But again, I was kind of prepared for it. This track does that a lot. So we were pretty conservative on our settings, knowing that we didn't get any race trim practice to make sure that we wouldn't have a problem. And thankfully, we really didn't. But like I said, that one left rear tire we did have a small little problem with, but thankfully the caution came out and actually saved us.
Any other questions? Let's go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Chad, just trying to get a sense of perspective, looking at the 4-team and Rodney Childers, and this obviously the chase is a meat grinder, for 10 weeks anyway. They've had a lot of ups and downs. Rodney has from the running out of fuel at New Hampshire leading to all sorts of issues on and off the track or on the track during the races. How do you, when you've had throughout all your chase experiences, how draining is that? I mean, this is already a mentally taxing thing, but to have the ups and downs throughout a race, how does that wear, or how do you keep that from wearing, beating down a team or beating you down as a crew chief?
You can't keep it from happening. It's very taxing. It's a challenge. It's an emotional challenge for sure. honestly, the driver actually probably has it the best because he gets in there and he kind of gets in a little siloed and he's, active for the 3-4 hours that you're driving. So he really doesn't have the residual effects of, gosh, I hope we got the right shocks on there. I hope they got this tight, or I hope we got that tight, or things of that nature. So on a crew chief, it's grueling. It's really, really tough. But that being said, that's why we do it. We like that. That's the thrill. That's the challenge. What they're going through, I don't know. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't even know what happened to them today. I didn't pay any attention. So, yeah. So I don't know. All this stuff is in the details, man. And let's be honest. The 4 car is going to be tough to beat at Phoenix. But I'm going to say I bet the 22 is as well, and I bet the 18, and I bet the 48, and I bet the 24, and the 88, and a bunch. So it's going to be a challenge, but the 4 car I'd say has the upper hand going into Phoenix, but we'll just have to see how it all shakes out.
Brant.
Brant James, USA Today Sports. When a team locks in at a track, you guys certainly have places where you win time and again, and Kevin, no secret, at Phoenix.
Sure.
Is that generally the driver loves the feel of the place, the really smart crew chief figures something out? What's the combination? What's the percentage?
It's all crew chief.
Is it? Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Next. No, no, it's a combination of both. Quite honestly, there's things change, the tracks change a lot. Obviously, we go through, Charlotte Motor Speedway, for instance. We went, I don't know how many races, and we won just a bunch of them, right? Then they repaved the racetrack and kind of lost a little bit of it, and we're starting to slowly get it back. Martinsville is a challenge. Since they've changed some of the stuff, we've had difficulty getting back on top of it the way that we need to. Texas is one of those racetracks that fits Jimmy's style. We've taken horsepower away from the cars, we've added downforce, we've done a lot of these things, and it's been tough for us to maybe actually get on top of where we need to be, because a lot of the tracks you just don't have to, honestly, you don't have to handle that good, and you don't have to drive that well to be able to run up front. Texas is a racetrack where you've got to have a hell of a driver to be able to make it happen. Atlanta, Chicago's, places like that, Kansas, for instance. You really got to be able to be on your game to be able to run well with those tracks. So this really falls into Jimmy's wheelhouse, and I think what helps us is Jimmy needs to be able to drive the race car, and this is a track that you've got to drive. And when you have to drive it, you have to be able to communicate with your crew chief, and that's what Jimmy does. And he speaks to us in a language that we understand at these types of racetracks, and it makes it better racing for us.
Let's go Kenny and then Stan.
Kenny Bruce, NASCAR.com. Chad, do you feel, I don't know if it's disrespected or overlooked when, like you mentioned, you guys you have 4 wins, 5 now, but people tend to think, oh, you've had a bad year.
Has-beens, washed up.
Does that ever do you ever feel like, what do we have to do?
Well, I mean, we have to not have mechanical issues and axle seal problems and things like that. And like I say, we'd be right in the middle of this thing, right? So, look, we did it to ourselves. Let's be honest. We I don't want to say we slacked, but we stunk up the summer 100%. It was horrible. It was pathetic. And, then we come into the chase and we're running pretty good. We ran well at Chicago. We ran well at New Hampshire. New Hampshire, we had a problem. We came back and we finished well. Chicago, we had a solid run. I'm sure we had something go wrong there, too. And just start stacking up the problems that we've had throughout the course of the season, and you get written off. But, man, this is a tough sport. 39 events, 39 weeks. We race with 43 of the best teams in racing, and it's tough. And it only takes 1 or 2 little things to make you feel like that you're out of it. But I can tell you, my guys are strong. We've got a group of guys that have never been better. Our pit crew's the best it's ever been. We've brought in 3 new engineers this year. So you would think from the onset that we should have been behind the 8 ball. Unfortunately, we came out strong. So everybody was like, "Oh, well, they're great, they're awesome." But there's still a learning curve that you got to go through. So I think coming into 2016, it's going to be right where we need to be, especially with these new rules. I can't wait.
Okay. With the changes that you guys made this year, did it surprise you that once again you had that summer? That slump?
Good damn summer.
Because you would think, okay, we're going to change.
I'm just going to stay home next year. I don't know what the summer thing is. I wish I knew. We're not going to have it next year. How's that? We're going voodoo. Something. I don't know. We're going to figure it out.
Let's come back, Stan.
Yeah, Stan Creekmore again. Chad, You made the remark about being conservative in your approach to this event. How much of that conservation did you throw out the door on that final pit stop?
That was we made some small adjustments right there at the end. The car was pretty good the run leading up to that, so we kind of had a basis of where the car was. But we made some small adjustments right there to be pretty aggressive and to try to make something happen. Look, let's be honest. In the position that we're in, if we finish second or we finish fifth, does it matter? Not really, right? So you got to go for the win. So we made some changes there, and we let Jimmy light the fuse and put on his cape and go after it.
Bob.
Bob Pockris, ESPN. How much did the lack of practice, do you feel, impact these tire issues teams are having? Or is it just, look, teams are pushing envelope and, you know, because we saw kind of the same thing a little bit in the Xfinity race yesterday?
No, that's a good question. And it's obviously it's things that we can't get on top of with more track time. But, you know, this type of racetrack, which, again, don't take this wrong. This type of racetrack and the surface and the tire and all that makes for really, really good racing. So don't think that we've got to go hyper-conservative the other direction and make it to where these tires don't wear out, because that's what we need. That's how you develop good racing and you have passing. So I think the lack of practice hurt some of the guys, and it's unfortunate for them. But, you know, this combination of tire and asphalt that we've got right now is actually what you're looking for if you want to have good racing. Well, I don't know. You watched the race. I'm in the middle of the pit box. I don't know what was going on. You know more than I. But if they were tire rubs, then you know what that is. If the tires are worn out, then that's a different story. So I don't know the whole story on any of that stuff. I'll know after I watch the race next spring.
Any other questions? One final question down here in the front.
Stu Myrick again. There it goes. This is kind of a motorsports in general question, Chad. Do you feel like maybe there's kind of a renaissance? I mean, NASCAR is doing great, of course, but you're starting to see a little more popularity with other disciplines, say sport car racing, Le Mans, Formula One. Do you see kind of a renaissance of motorsports popularity as a whole in the United States?
I think so. I think Look, you got to realize the competition that we've got is just unmatched. It's pretty amazing. If you want to watch any type of motorsport or racing, this is as close as it gets. I think with the new rules that we've got, going to the fuel injection, things like that, people can start to begin to identify with what it is that we do on a regular basis a little bit more. We need to continue to push that. I think it's a huge, huge thing. The closer we get our cars to what it is that people actually drive, the more they're going to have that connection. But if you watch, like you mentioned, the 24-hour Le Mans, that technology is what people are driving day to day, and that's why it interests them. That's neat. That's fun. You know, we get to the point where we're actually supercharging and running, you know, legitimate turbos and things like that in Sprint Cup. Man, you're really going to get a lot of these kids to pay attention. So that's years down the road, if ever. But you know, I think that's got a lot to do with it. But quite honestly, the instant thrill that you get from motorsports is what a lot of the younger generation wants and looks for, and man, we deliver it. I mean, let's be honest, the last 20 laps right there, the middle 40 laps, the first 15 laps, I mean, that's what people are looking for excitement. Man, we deliver.
Chad, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Thank you, guys.